Okay. First group, I had Stephen, Tanisha, Thomas, and oops, and Melissa S. Um, as the first group, and what I saw across that group was in terms of the kinds of topics you guys were picking. A lot of them were related towards actual physical movement types of things, physical skills, game, actual like sort of game theory about games like volleyball and spacing within games and stuff like that. So there seemed to be a lot of interest across this group in games that sort of relate to either physical health or physical activity, sorts of things. Group two, I had, let's see here, I had James, Sarah, Brian with a Y, and Yamilka. And that group for me seemed to be largely a sort of interest in not necessarily math, but sort of math-ish kinds of things, word problems, decoding, probability equations, that sort of thing seemed to show up quite a bit across that group. So that group seemed to go together pretty well. The next group I had Alana. I can't type Melissa tonight. Melissa D. Brian with an I, and Kathleen. And this group sort of roughly seemed to be science oriented-ish. There was a couple of things about evolution, climate change, the cell, sort of those types of things. Genetics showed up in a couple of them. Classifying, sorting, those types of activities. So that group seemed to kind of have a bit of a science-y focus. And then the last group, if you couldn't figure out, I had is Kayla, Tanya, Earl, and Sandy. And that group seemed to have kind of a humanities focus, either art history, mythology, government, the Cold War, those types of things. So just again as a starting point. Oh, Kathleen, glad you could make it. We're just talking about doing groups, getting groups together. So that's great. So we have everybody. All right, good, awesome. So anyways, so that's what I came up with. Please, suggestions, comments, anybody have anything that they think would work better in terms of an arrangement. There's probably not going to be perfect alignment in terms of projects. But again, in terms of this course, the focus is more on the process of designing and creating and executing a game. Any suggestions, comments? Switch, so teach with Tanya. So let's see. Melissa, you're currently in group 3. So you're saying if you could be in the group 4 group? So is there a person in group 4 that is there a person in group 4 that would be okay for let's see. You started so East Hartford. So trying to get let's see. So trying to get both Melissas and Tanya together in the same group. Is that what I'm seeing there? Um, all right, so that would, let's see, what's so I mean, what we could do, let's see, if yeah, I'm just trying to think what would make the most sense so that we would displace as few people as possible. Um, so is there? I guess it would be asking is maybe if there is a person in group 3 that would want to switch to group 1, which was sort of the skill and mental health and decision making group, and or um, is there a person in group 4 also that would mind switching with group 3? Crickets. So Brian, let's see, Brian with a Y. Um, so let's see here. If I can, I'm just trying to wrap my brain around this. So maybe could could maybe seeing who piped up there. Brian M. Sheila, Earl. Oh well, let's. What if we did? So Melissa switch with Kayla. Melissa D switch with Kayla. Okay, so if I put Kayla here in group 3 and Melissa D here, then it would just be a question, I guess, between Earl or Sandy, if either one of you would be willing to switch to group 1. Let's see. Oh, Earl. So, Earl, would you be willing? I know you said that you'd be willing to do anything. um, okay, so Earl, why don't I do that? I'll move you to group 1, and then we'll move Melissa down to group 4. Okay, did that? Um, let's see. Okay. Is there, I mean, is there, I mean, part of this, I mean, yes, some of it will be trying to be able to get together in person. Um, a lot of this work can happen online as well. But to that point, do we have one other person currently in groups 1 through 3 that is maybe more in the Hartford, East Hartford neck of the woods, if that's important. I mean, we will have time during class on campus to work um, on these projects too. So we will get direct contact time on campus. That is, of course, assuming that Mother Nature ever. So okay, so we're fine. I have to say, in relation to having summers off, I grew up. Both of my parents are teachers, and I actually grew up just thinking that everybody had their summers off, and it took me until I was probably in high school until the realization struck that I was that people actually worked through the summer. So, and I've of course have learned differently since then. Okay, so I think did I manage to straighten out here um, with everybody in terms of that grouping? And with the adjustments, then, do people still seem okay with what they've got? Oh, nice. Yeah, telecommuting. There was just an article I was reading today about how more and more businesses are letting their employees telecommute. All right. So, anything else in terms of
I
the?
actually have something. I just didn't know. Um, I don't mind. I honestly don't care what group I'm in. I just wanted to do something like what you had the first time around in the group that I was in. It seemed like they were all more into what I what I'm doing, and now all of a sudden I'm in a group that it's like completely different. The and again, no disrespect to anybody, but I just thought I was in a better group to start with.
Sure.
The
Um,
arts and the humanities.
yeah, I mean, you and Tanya were both in this group together. Tanya's
Oh,
big
okay.
big idea was the Greek mythology idea.
Oh,
Um,
that's right. Okay.
and
All right.
you had the art history and color and ceramics. So
Okay. All right.
um,
Then because I thought that I just all of a sudden got in with the three and they were doing something completely different. All right. But I forgot about Tanya. All right. Good.
yeah, I think there's probably there's going to be room to develop a topic still, um, even within the groups. Um, okay, Melissa. Yeah, I think audio is working from my end. So if you need to log off, then give that a shot.
Yeah. Maybe I will take the advice. I can't remember who just wrote it because it went up so fast, but maybe I'll have them do an art project.
There.
All right. Thanks.
Yep, no problem. Tiny says no. All right. So in terms of the groups, again, the goal is not so much the exact topic because obviously whenever you've got multiple people working on a project, there's going to be different ideas and different thoughts in terms um, of where your focus is going to be. But just keep in mind that the in terms of this course, the key idea is the development of an educational game. So whether the topic maybe is directly related to what you do in the classroom or to one of the ideas you had, um, the process is still going to be good and going through the process so that down the road you have that skill set available, so that if you want to get it, design your own game for your own classroom or with a group of people, that you'll have that skill set. So it's just sort of important to keep in mind that there will be some compromise, probably necessary among the subjects. All right, so for right now, we'll go ahead with the groups as they are currently on the screen. Um, so what I wanted to do, the only other thing I really wanted to do tonight is just to allow the groups to get a little bit of time together. And I've created some chat rooms for each of the groups to use so that you've got a place where you can just be chatting with each other. Or as I always say, if you've got another way to communicate, if everybody's got FaceTime or Skype or something like that, that's fine too. But my goal for tonight, and I want to take this process as I'm laying it out. I know there's maybe going to be a tendency to jump to the next step tonight in the discussion, but I just want to take this to a certain point tonight, and then give it over the course of the next week to kind of continue to develop. But within each group, I'll go to group one's page here, is just for tonight is to go into your Moodle page, you hit edit, and then just here under possible topics is to list out, I don't know, 3 or 4 possible topics for your group's game. And in particular, I said a short description of the problem that's being addressed. So remember that one thing that's a little different with educational games is that we're still trying to teach something. We're still trying to deliver content, to increase skills, to increase understanding about something. So a game should be there just like anything else within an instructional unit. It should be there to solve a problem. So just like you were doing an instructional design, that first question, what is the problem you're trying to address? So for tonight, focus maybe from that perspective and get a few topics thrown out within your group. Just give me the name of the topic and then just a short description, 1 sentence. What is the problem that a game based on this topic would help to solve? So if it's if the topic is something general like goal setting, then the problem being addressed may be something like students are having a hard time understanding the steps towards setting personal goals. So that gives you the reason why goal setting would be a topic. So for tonight, I do not want the groups to select their final topic tonight. Tonight, I just want you to list out some ideas. So it can be ideas from the ones that you posted on the forum. You may come up with new ideas. Since you're now with a specific group of people, you may come up with some specific ideas that are different than the ones you had in the forum. That's fine. But like I said, if you can come up with 3 or 4, then what I'm going to be asking is that over the course of this next week, that you just continue the discussion with the people in your group, and that can just be through email or something like that, so that you can reflect on the choices that come up tonight, think about them a little bit, kind of run through in your mind what might work the best as a game, and then just continue the discussion through the week. And then once you've come up with a final topic, that would go in this second area here under the group page. So tonight is just about getting some ideas out there. And then the sort of the other piece of the work for this coming week, in addition to the Powtoon, is just to have some communication with your team members, having given some thought to your possible topics, and try to narrow it down to a topic by next week, so that by the time we meet next week, we've got an idea of where we're headed. All right. Oh, Melissa, you're back. Yes.
I'm back.
Yes, welcome back. Yeah, the chat rooms will be there. So if you want to set a time with your group to meet in the chat room sometime later in the week, you can absolutely do that. Yeah, the wiki, at any time you can come and edit the wiki. Everybody has the ability to edit any of the pages in the wiki, so just make sure you're only editing your own page. But you would come into your group's page, and then if you hit this edit tab at the top, then that just takes you into a normal text editing field. And you'll be putting in your possible topics here. And then once you've developed your final topic, that would go underneath. And then when you're done, you just hit save. And then that'll update your page. And then I also already embedded a link to take you back to the home page for the game project. So all of that will be accessible throughout the course of the week. All right. So actually, let me do this. I just so that I'm making the best use of your time tonight and not keeping you longer than is necessary. Let me take a couple minutes right now just to recap what's the work for this week and what's due next week. And then I would just say for the groups, take however much time you think you need tonight, if that's 15 minutes, if it's a half an hour, to get your ideas discussed and to get them added into your wiki page. And then when your group feels like it's done what it needs to do for this week, you guys can just log out. I'll keep the room open and I will stay here so that if you have questions, I can certainly help to address them. But that way, I'm not holding everybody to a certain time to get back together, because I think we've got the groups now and so on. So just really quickly, and I've already gone over all of this tonight. Is for next week, it's really just two things. Number one, just continue the discussion with the members of your group to narrow down your topic. So come up with your suggestions tonight. Use that as a jumping off point. Think about things for a few days. Maybe you want to add to the list. Maybe you'll have second thoughts about an idea you came up with. Narrow it down, and then just keep editing your group wiki page to reflect whatever information you've come up with about your particular topic. And then the only other thing is just to complete your Powtoon video project. I've put a link here to the assignment page, so you have a link back to where you'll be actually submitting your document. And just remember to put the hyperlink to your finished Powtoon in that document too, so that I can quickly click on it. I can get to it too. If you've saved it in Powtoons, I can get to it that way too. It's just faster for me while I'm reading your Word document to just be able to click on it and access it right from there. So that's really it for next week. I wanted to leave things pretty much just about the Powtoon this week, because I know you want to focus your energies there. And hopefully, doing the discussion, that can just be a little bit throughout the week. Like I said, that could be through email, it could be through the chat rooms, it could simply be through the wiki page. However you guys want to structure that conversation, so that by next week you've got a pretty good idea about a topic that you want to develop into a game. All right, so questions about that work or about the work you're about to do. Week 5, the group game projects is the wiki, so that's where you would go. I've got the 4 chat rooms here set up, so whichever group you're in, you can use that chat room to discuss with each other. Or if you've got another mode you'd like to use to hold a conversation, that's fine too. And I would just say take as much time as you need to get a list of 3 or 4 topics down. And if you feel like you're good to go, then at that point, your group can sign out for the night. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that next week we're on campus. Already it looks like there's some chance of snow next Wednesday, but I'm going to refuse to believe it until it gets closer, because I want to see you guys again and meet in person. All right, so questions, comments before I sort of cut you loose into your groups? All right. So, yeah, so I would say just get together with your groups, brainstorm some ideas, edit your wiki to reflect them, and come back here in the room. If you have a question, I will stay here until everybody is logged out. So I'll stay as long as need be. So if you've got questions, feel free to come back to WebEx and let me know that you've got a question. And other than that, I'll keep my fingers crossed that we see you. Make sure that then I'll see you guys next week. All right. So get together with your groups and brainstorm some ideas.